You. You didn't wake up today expecting to sound like a different person by tonight, but that's exactly what's about to happen. You. Because somewhere in the next hour, one sentence you hear is going to lodge itself in your brain and never leave. You. Maybe it's a single word. Maybe it's the way two words fit together in a sentence you didn't know you needed. Either way, you. By the time we're done, you won't just understand more English. You'll notice yourself reaching for better words without even trying. You. In the middle of a normal sentence, in the middle of a normal day. That's not a promise. You. That's just what happens when your brain gets fed the right material at the right pace. And today, that's exactly what we're doing. You. I'm Emma, and this channel is called Natural Word English. And if there's one thing I want you to understand before we go any further, it's this. Most people learning English get stuck at a certain level because they keep circling the same 300 words. They know enough to survive a conversation, but not enough to sound like themselves. Not enough to sound smart or funny or sharp, or precise. That gap between surviving in English and actually expressing who you are in English, that's what we're closing today. One real vocabulary word at a time, always inside a real situation, never as a dry definition sitting alone on a page. Here's why this works better than memorizing word lists, and I'll keep this quick because I know you didn't come here for a lecture. When you learn a word attached to a moment, a specific person saying a specific thing in a specific place, your brain doesn't file it away as abstract information. It files it as an experience, and experiences stick. That's why you can still remember exactly where you were when someone said something that hurt you or made you laugh. But you can't remember page 14 of a grammar textbook you read 3 years ago. So instead of throwing 50 words at you with dictionary definitions, I'm going to walk you through real situations. A tense meeting at work. An argument you're trying to calm down, A friend who won't stop talking about their trip. And inside each one, I'll hand you the exact word a fluent English speaker would reach for. You'll hear it, You'll understand why it fits better than the basic word you'd normally use, and then you're going to say it out loud. Not read it silently. Say it. Your mouth needs the practice as much as your brain does. Let's start right where most of your day probably starts, or at least where a lot of tension in your week probably starts. Work. Picture this. You're in a meeting and your manager just handed your team a deadline that everyone privately thinks is unrealistic, but nobody wants to be the one to say it. There's a pause, And then one colleague, calmly, without raising their voice, you, says something like this: I want to be candid with you. I don't think we can hit that deadline without cutting corners on quality. You. Candid. Say it with me. Candid. It means honest and direct, especially about something that might be a little uncomfortable to say. You. It's stronger than just honest, because honest can describe anything true. You. But candid specifically means you're choosing truth over comfort. In a moment where staying quiet would have been easier, you, instead of saying, I'll be honest, which almost every learner says, you. Native speakers in professional settings often say, I want to be candid, or can I be candid with you for a second? You. It signals something is coming that might sting a little, but it's coming from a good place. Let's build the dialogue further, you, because this is exactly the kind of exchange you might actually find yourself in. Imagine the meeting room, slightly too warm, you. Laptops open, a shared document projected on the wall with a red deadline circled in the corner. Your manager, you. Arms crossed but not unfriendly, waiting for someone to respond. Your colleague leans forward slightly before speaking. You. I want to be candid with you. I don't think we can hit that deadline without cutting corners on quality. I hear you, you. But the client's expecting a first draft by Friday. Is there any way to speed things up without lowering the bar? Honestly, you. The bottleneck isn't effort, it's testing. If we streamline the review process, we might save 2 full days. Streamline it how? You. Exactly. Instead of every feature going through 3 separate reviewers, we consolidate it into one round, you, with all 3 of us in the same call, dabla. That could work. Let's try it this week and see if it actually speeds things up. You. 2 new words just slipped into that conversation, and I don't want you to miss them. First, you. Streamline. To streamline something means to make a process simpler and more efficient by removing unnecessary steps. You. Think of a river. When water flows around obstacles, it's slow and messy. When the path is streamlined, it's smooth and fast. You can streamline a process, a workflow, even a conversation. You. We need to streamline our onboarding process is a sentence you'll hear constantly in any office job, in any English-speaking company, you, anywhere in the world. Second, bottleneck. A bottleneck is the point in a process where everything slows down, you. Exactly like the narrow neck of a bottle slows down the flow of liquid. If your team is fast at planning but slow at testing, you. Testing is your bottleneck. Say both words out loud right now, slowly. Streamline, bottleneck, you. Now say them at normal speaking speed inside a sentence. The real bottleneck was approval, so we streamlined it. Now, you. Here's where I want you to actually participate, not just listen. I'm going to read the manager's line again, and this time, you. I want you to pause the video for 5 seconds and answer as the colleague in your own words using either candid, streamline, you, or bottleneck. Ready? I hear you, but the client's expecting a first draft by Friday. You. Is there any way to speed things up without lowering the bar? Go ahead. Answer out loud, even if it's just one sentence. You. There's no wrong answer here. The only mistake is staying silent. Good, whatever you said, you. You just practiced real spontaneous English production, which is worth 10 times more than passively listening. You. Let's stay in this world of work a little longer, you. Because there's a specific kind of person your workplace vocabulary needs to describe. The person who doesn't wait to be told what to do. You. In basic English, you'd say, he takes initiative. That's fine, but it's a little flat, a little overused. You. A fluent speaker might instead say, she's incredibly proactive. Proactive means acting in advance to prevent a problem. You. Rather than reacting after it happens. It's the opposite of reactive. You. If your coworker notices a client is unhappy before the client even complains and quietly fixes it, that's proactive behavior. Example, you. Instead of waiting for complaints, our support team proactively reaches out to customers who seem confused. You. Notice the adverb form there too. Proactively. Practice the stress pattern with me because this word trips a lot of learners up. You. It's proactive. The stress falls on the second syllable, not the first. Say it slowly. Proactive. Now at natural speed. Proactive. You. One more time in a full sentence, and try to really lean into that middle syllable. She's the most proactive person on the team. You. There's a companion word I want to give you here too. You. Because the two together make you sound remarkably fluent in professional English. Spearhead. You. To spearhead something means to lead an important project or initiative. To be the person out in front driving it forward. You. Think of a literal spear. The sharp point at the very front. She spearheaded the entire product launch. Sounds far more impressive. You. And far more natural than she was the leader of the launch. Try building your own sentence right now with spearhead, you, about any project, real or imagined, from your own life or work. Say it out loud. Nice. That's exactly the muscle we're training, you. Now let's slow down the pace for a second, you. Because I don't want you just collecting words. I want you to notice how native speakers actually connect their sentences when they talk quickly, you. Because understanding fast, natural speech is just as important as building your vocabulary. Listen to this sentence at a natural you. Slightly fast pace. What are you doing this weekend? You. Now listen to how it's actually pronounced by most native speakers in casual conversation. What you doing this weekend? You. The words what and are and you blend together into something that sounds almost like a completely different word. Watcha, you. This is called connected speech, and it happens constantly in real English, you, which is exactly why textbook English sometimes sounds nothing like the English you hear in real conversations, movies, or podcasts. You. Here's another one. Did you eat yet? Becomes in fast natural speech, "G'd yet?" I know that looks strange written down, you, but say it slowly first. Did you eat yet? And then speed it up gradually, letting the words melt into each other, you. And you'll actually hear yourself producing something close to "G'd yet," you. This is exactly the skill that lets you finally understand native speakers in real life, not just in slow, you. Clearly enunciated lesson audio. Let's connect this back to our workplace vocabulary with one more piece of natural rhythm, you. Say this sentence slowly first. I want to be candid with you. Notice where the stress falls. Candid, not candied, you. Now say the whole sentence with natural rhythm, letting the unstressed words fall away quickly. And the stressed word punch through, you. I want to be candid with you. Did you catch that want to became wanna? That's connected speech again, you. And it's not lazy or incorrect. It's simply how fluent speakers actually talk. Try saying the full sentence 3 times, you, gradually increasing your speed each time. Good work. Genuinely, if you've been saying these out loud with me, you're already doing more active practice in the last 10 minutes than most people do in a week of passive listening. You. Let's move into our next block and shift the emotional register a little, you. Because vocabulary isn't just useful for the office, it's what lets you actually describe how you feel with precision, you. Instead of reaching for good or bad or fine for the 100th time this month, you. Picture a moment that's probably happened to you. You've been waiting for news. A job result, an exam score, you. A message from someone important. The waiting itself has a feeling, and English has a specific word for it that most learners never use, you. Apprehensive. Apprehensive means feeling worried or nervous about something that might happen, especially something in the near future, you. It's softer than terrified, more specific than nervous. It carries this exact flavor of anxious anticipation, you. I felt apprehensive walking into the interview room tells your listener something precise. Not panic, not fear exactly, you. But that particular tight, uncertain feeling before an unknown outcome. Say it with me slowly. apprehensive, you. The stress lands on the third syllable. Now, at natural speed, apprehensive. Build a sentence about a time you felt apprehensive, you. And say it out loud right now. Let's visualize a scene together before the next word, because I want this one to really land, you. Imagine you're sitting in a waiting room at a hospital, the kind with slightly uncomfortable chairs and old magazines. Nobody reads, you. Waiting for news about a family member's surgery. A nurse finally walks toward you, and your whole body tenses, you. This is the emotional territory where our next word lives, daunted, you. To feel daunted means to feel intimidated or discouraged by the size or difficulty of a task or situation, you. So much that it almost makes you want to give up before starting. The amount of paperwork felt daunting. Notice that adjective form, you. Daunting, which describes the thing that causes the feeling, while daunted describes the person experiencing it, you. I felt daunted by the mountain of applications versus the application process was daunting. Both are useful, you, and native speakers switched between them constantly depending on whether they're describing themselves or the situation, you. Let's turn this into a longer conversation with a real back and forth, because emotional vocabulary really comes alive in dialogue, you, not in isolated example sentences. Imagine two friends sitting outside a cafe. One of them just found out about a huge, you, difficult opportunity, a scholarship abroad, let's say, and she's talking it through with her friend, you. They offered me the scholarship, but now that it's real, I feel completely daunted by the idea of moving there alone, you. That makes sense. It's a huge change. What exactly is worrying you the most? Honestly, it's not even the classes. It's starting over, you. Socially. In a place where I don't know a single person, I get that. But remember, you've done hard things before that felt daunting at first, and you figured them out. You're right, you. I think I'm just apprehensive about the first few weeks, not the whole year. Abia? Then focus on surviving the first month. After that, you. It stops feeling so daunting, I promise. Now here's your role switch moment. And I want you to actually do this, not just listen, you. I'm going to read the first friend's lines again, one at a time, and after each one, you. I want you to pause and respond as the second friend in your own words before I give you the actual line from the dialogue. Ready? You. They offered me the scholarship, but now that it's real, I feel completely daunted by the idea of moving there alone. Pause it, you. Answer out loud, then continue. However you responded, you just practiced comforting someone in English using real emotional vocabulary, you, which is a skill most textbooks never even attempt to teach you. You. There's a word that sits right next to daunted that I want to give you now, you, because it describes what happens after the hard thing is over. Invigorated, you. To feel invigorated means to feel full of energy and enthusiasm, refreshed, almost recharged, you. Usually after something challenging or after physical activity, fresh air, or a burst of good news. You. I felt completely invigorated after the run, or that conversation left me feeling invigorated. It's the emotional opposite of daunted, you. The feeling on the other side of the hard thing. Practice the pronunciation with me. Invigorated, stress on the second syllable, you. Say it slowly, then at natural speed, then inside a full sentence about your own life. I always feel invigorated after you. Finish that sentence out loud right now with anything true about you. Let's do a quick sensory practice round here, you, because this is one of the most underused techniques for actually locking vocabulary into your long-term memory. Using your senses to describe your immediate environment, you, out loud with the exact words you just learned. Look around wherever you are right now, you, and I want you to describe your surroundings using at least one of today's words. For example, I might say, you. I feel invigorated right now, sitting by this window with the afternoon light coming in, and honestly, you. A little apprehensive about everything I still need to record today. Now it's your turn. Pause the video, look around you, you, and speak for 15 to 20 seconds, weaving in apprehensive, daunted, you, or invigorated, naturally into a description of your actual physical surroundings and your actual current mood. Go ahead, you. Say it out loud right now. That's genuinely excellent practice. And if you did that, you just did something most people watching English videos never do. You produced original English connected to your real life you, using new vocabulary without a script. That's the entire game. That's fluency being built in real time, right now, you. Let's move into our third block and shift again, this time into the vocabulary of personality and character, you. Because these are the words that let you describe not what someone did, but who someone fundamentally is, you. And these words come up constantly. Whether you're describing a coworker, a family member, or yourself in a job interview, you. Picture someone you know who never gives up, you. Even when a problem seems impossible to solve, the kind of person who tries 5 different approaches before admitting defeat, you. And honestly, rarely even gets to that point. Basic English gives you hardworking, which is fine, but a little generic, you. The more precise, more impressive word is tenacious. Tenacious means holding on firmly to something. refusing to give up, you, especially when facing difficulty or resistance, you. She's incredibly tenacious. She rewrote that proposal 6 times until it was accepted. Say it with me. Tenacious, you. The stress lands on the second syllable, and that C makes a sh sound. Tenacious, you. Build your own sentence about someone tenacious you know, and say it out loud. Here's a word that often gets confused with tenacious, you, but actually describes something a little different. And I want to make sure you can tell them apart, you, because this exact confusion trips learners up constantly. Pragmatic. A pragmatic person deals with problems in a sensible, realistic way, based on practical considerations rather than emotions or strict rules or ideals. Someone tenacious refuses to quit, you. Someone pragmatic chooses the smartest, most realistic path forward, even if it means changing the plan entirely, you. You can absolutely be both. Instead of insisting on the original plan, she took a pragmatic approach and adjusted the budget, you. Notice how different that feels from tenacious. Pragmatic is about flexible, realistic thinking, you, while tenacious is about persistent effort. Say a sentence contrasting the two people you know. One tenacious, one pragmatic. Out loud, you. Right now, let's build a workplace role-play scene using both of these words, you. Because I want you to actually feel the difference in a live conversation, not just in definitions. Imagine a small business meeting, you. 2 co-founders disagreeing gently about how to handle a difficult client. I think we should stick with our original pricing, you. If we lower it now, we'll look weak abi. I get the instinct, but honestly, being pragmatic here might save the whole contract, you. A 10% discount now means we keep a long-term client. You're probably right, you. I just don't want to be the kind of company that folds under pressure. We're not folding, we're adapting, you. There's a difference between being tenacious about our value and being stubborn about a number. A fair point. Let's offer the discount, you, but only for this quarter and revisit it after add. Deal. That's tenacious about the relationship and pragmatic about the number, you. I like it, you. Notice how naturally those 2 words work together in an actual disagreement. That's exactly how fluent speakers use vocabulary, you, not as isolated facts, but as tools to make a real argument land more precisely, you. Let's add 2 more personality words before we take a short breather. Because I don't want to overload you, but these 2 are genuinely useful almost every single day. First, unassuming. An unassuming person is modest, doesn't show off, you. Doesn't demand attention, even if they're extremely talented or successful. He's one of the best engineers in the company you. But he's completely unassuming about it. You'd never guess from talking to him. Say it slowly, unassuming. Now, naturally, unassuming, you. Second, astute. Astute means having a sharp, accurate understanding of a situation, you. Especially one that's complicated or where other people might miss the important details, you. That was an astute observation. Nobody else noticed the pattern in the data. Say it with me, astute. Short, sharp word, you. Stress on the second syllable. Build one sentence with unassuming and one with astute about people in your own life, you. And say both out loud before we continue. Let's pause here for just a moment. Take a breath with me, you. You've just gone through work vocabulary, emotional vocabulary, and personality vocabulary, all inside real dialogues, you. All with real pronunciation practice. And if you've been speaking out loud this whole time, you. Your mouth has done more active English production in the last 20 minutes than in most entire weeks of passive study. You. That's genuinely something to feel good about. Let it settle for a second. You. Notice how some of these words already feel a little more familiar than they did 20 minutes ago. You. That's not an illusion. That's your brain quietly filing these away as real, usable tools, not just facts you'll forget by tomorrow. You. When you're ready, say 1, and we'll continue straight into the next part. More real conversations, you. More precise vocabulary for daily life, travel, and technology. Deeper listening practice with natural connected speech, you. A role play you'll actually get to answer out loud. And eventually, you. Our full fluency round, where we race back through everything you've learned today. Let's pick the energy back up, you. Because there's a whole category of vocabulary we haven't touched yet, you. And it's the one you'll actually use the most, the vocabulary of everyday social life, you. The small moments that make up an actual friendship, an actual family dinner, an actual awkward encounter at a party, you. This is where a lot of learners plateau because they can survive a business meeting but freeze up during small talk. And honestly, you. Small talk is harder because it moves fast and it's full of nuance. Picture this scene with me. You're at a friend's birthday dinner, you. And someone at the table keeps steering every conversation back to themselves, talking over people, never once asking a question back, you. Later, walking home, your friend turns to you and says something like this: I love him, but God, he can be so self-absorbed sometimes, you. Self-absorbed. Say it with me. 3 separate stresses. Self-absorbed. It means being completely focused on yourself, you, your own interests and feelings, to the point of ignoring other people around you, you. It's more precise and slightly less harsh than selfish. you. Because it doesn't necessarily mean cruel. It just means someone whose attention never leaves themselves, you. The meeting felt pointless because the client was too self-absorbed to actually listen to our proposal, you. Build your own sentence about someone self-absorbed you've encountered. And say it out loud right now, you. Right next to that word sits its opposite, and it's one of the warmest, most useful compliments in English. Considerate, you. A considerate person thinks carefully about other people's feelings and needs, you, and adjusts their own behavior to avoid causing trouble or discomfort, you. She's incredibly considerate. She always remembers who's vegetarian before choosing a restaurant. Notice the rhythm. Con SID, 8, U. Stress on the second syllable, and that final syllable is soft, almost swallowed. Cons idea it, not consider 8. Say it slowly. You. Then, at natural speed, then in a full sentence about someone considerate in your life. Let's build a longer dialogue here, you. Because this is exactly the kind of conversation you'll have with a close friend, complaining gently about someone, you. Working through a small social frustration together. And I want you to notice how naturally these words slide into casual speech, you, not formal speech at all. How was the dinner last night? Honestly, exhausting. Marcus was there, and he's so self-absorbed, you. He talked about his new apartment for literally 40 minutes straight. 40 minutes? Did anyone try to change the subject? You. I tried twice, and both times he just steered it right back to himself. That sounds draining. You. At least tell me someone balanced it out. Yeah, Priya was there too, and she's the opposite, so consider it you. She kept checking in with everyone, asking questions, making sure nobody felt left out. Honestly, you. That's the difference between a good dinner guest and an exhausting one, right there. 2 more words I want to slip in here, you. Because they describe a very specific, very common social feeling. The awkward tension of a conversation that just isn't flowing. You. Stilted. A stilted conversation feels forced, unnatural, awkward, like both people are struggling to find something to say. You. Our first date was a little stilted. We barely knew what to talk about. Say it with me. Stilted, one clear stress, short word, you. And the opposite feeling when conversation flows effortlessly, one topic naturally leading to the next, seamless, you. A seamless conversation or a seamless process of any kind has no visible breaks or difficulties. It just flows, you. Once we found a shared hobby, the conversation became completely seamless. Practice both back to back. Stilted, seamless, stilted, you. Seamless. Now, use each in one sentence about a real conversation you've had recently, and say both out loud. Now, you. Here's your role switch moment for this block, and I want you to genuinely try it, you, because describing an awkward social situation in real time is exactly the kind of speaking most learners never practice, you. I'll set the scene. Imagine you just got back from a work networking event and a friend asks how it went. I'll play your friend, you. So, how was the networking thing last night? Did you meet anyone interesting? Pause the video and answer out loud, you. In your own words, using at least one of today's words: self-absorbed, considerate, stilted, or seamless. Take your time, you. Whatever came out of your mouth that's real, spontaneous English production, you. And it's worth far more than repeating a sentence I wrote for you. Let's slow the rhythm down for a phonetics moment, you. Because I want to give you another piece of natural connected speech, you. One that shows up constantly in casual conversations like the ones we just practiced. Listen to this sentence spoken slowly and clearly, you. I don't know what to say. Now listen to how it actually sounds at natural conversational speed. I don't know what to say, you. The don't know collapses into dunno, and what to collapses into wada. This isn't slang, you, and it isn't incorrect. It's simply what happens to sound patterns when fluent speakers talk at a natural pace, especially in relaxed, informal settings. Try saying the full sentence slowly first and then gradually speed it up until the words start naturally blending. You. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. One more, because this pattern is everywhere. Give me a second often becomes you. In fast, natural speech, gimme a sec. Say it slowly, then fast 3 times, letting your mouth get used to that smoother, faster shape, you. Let's move into a completely different world now. Travel, you. Because this is where a lot of learners actually first felt the limits of their English. Standing in an airport or a foreign city, you. Realizing that classroom English doesn't always match the messy, fast, real version of a situation. Picture yourself at an airport gate, you. And your flight has just been delayed for the 3rd time, with no clear explanation from the airline staff, you. A traveler next to you sighs and says, "This whole process has been an absolute logistical nightmare." Logistical, say it with me, you. Logistical, stress on the second syllable, you. It refers to the practical organization needed to make a complex operation happen. Moving people, luggage, schedules, you. All the invisible machinery behind travel. The wedding was beautiful, you. But the logistics of getting 200 guests to a remote location were a nightmare, you. You'll hear this word constantly in travel contexts, but also in business, event planning, you. And even in everyday conversations about organizing a big family gathering. Right alongside it, here's a word for describing a trip, you, or really any experience that goes far beyond what you expected. Exhilarating. Exhilarating means intensely exciting, thrilling, you, energizing, often used for physical experiences like skydiving or hiking, but also for emotional highs, like an unexpected adventure, you. Hiking to the summit at sunrise was absolutely exhilarating. Say it slowly. Exhale Stress on the second syllable, you, and notice that middle hill sound rhymes with will. Now at natural speed, exhilarating, you. Build a sentence about the most exhilarating travel moment of your life, real or imagined, and say it out loud right now, you. Let's visualize a scene before our next travel word, because I want this one to feel real. Imagine standing in a crowded, unfamiliar train station in a country where you don't speak the language fluently, holding a paper ticket, completely unsure which platform to go to. Announcements echoing overhead in a language you can't quite follow. You. This is exactly the feeling our next word captures: disoriented. To feel disoriented means to feel confused about where you are, you, or what's happening, having lost your sense of direction, physically or mentally. After the long flight and the time change, I felt completely disoriented for the first few hours. Say it with me. Disoriented, stress on the second syllable, you. Now build your own sentence about a time you felt disoriented and say it out loud. Let's turn this into a full travel dialogue, with a visualization intro and a longer back and forth, because I want you to hear how these words function in a real slightly stressful travel moment. Picture two friends traveling together, standing in the middle of a busy foreign train station, both a little lost, trying to figure out their next move. Okay, I'm completely disoriented. I have no idea which platform we're supposed to be on. So, same here. And the announcements are impossible to understand at this speed. Let's just find someone in a uniform and ask directly. This is starting to feel like a logistical nightmare. Good idea. Actually, Wait, I think that sign over there says Platform 9. Let's just double check with someone first. Fine, but honestly, even with all this chaos, I'm kind of loving it. This whole trip has been exhilarating so far. Ha, easy for you to say. You're not the one who lost the hotel booking confirmation. Notice how naturally the frustration and the excitement sit right next to each other in that dialogue. That's real travel, messy and thrilling at the same time, and now you have the exact words to describe both sides of it, Let's move into our next cluster: technology and modern life. Because this is a category of vocabulary that changes constantly, And having precise words here makes you sound genuinely current, not like you're speaking English from 20 years ago. You. Picture a moment you've probably experienced. You open an app, and instead of the clean, simple interface you expected, you're met with a confusing tangle of menus, pop-ups, and settings you can't find. A friend watching you struggle might say, honestly, that app's interface is so unintuitive, I gave up after 5 minutes. Unintuitive, say it with me. Unintuitive. 4 syllables, you. Stress on the third. It means something isn't designed in a way that feels natural or easy to understand or use, forcing you to think hard about something that should feel automatic. The opposite, obviously, is intuitive. The new update is so intuitive, I figured it out in seconds without reading anything. Practice both back to back, Then build one sentence contrasting an intuitive app and an unintuitive one from your own experience. Here's a word that comes up constantly in conversations about technology and modern life more broadly. Seamlessly, which you actually already met earlier as seamless describing conversation. But here it takes on a slightly different flavor. When technology works seamlessly, it means different systems or processes connect and function together without any visible friction or difficulty. My phone and my laptop syncs seamlessly now. I don't even have to think about it. Notice how the same word stretches across completely different contexts. Conversation, technology, even travel logistics. And that flexibility is exactly what makes advanced vocabulary so powerful. Because one word, learned well, gives you coverage across dozens of real situations. Let's add one more essential technology word before we shift gears. As obsolete, Something obsolete is no longer useful or needed because it's been replaced by something newer and better. That software feels completely obsolete now. Hardly anyone uses it anymore. Say it with me. Obsolete. Stress on the final syllable, And notice that final leet rhymes with eat. Build a sentence about something you own or use that feels obsolete now, And say it out loud. Let's slow down again for a moment because I want to give you a genuinely important listening skill now, Something that changes how you experience real conversations, movies, and podcasts far more than any single vocabulary word could. It's the skill of catching the gist of a fast sentence instead of panicking when you miss a word. Here's the truth about real native conversation. Even native speakers don't catch every single word another native speaker says. Conversations move fast. People mumble. Background noise interferes. Accents shift. What separates a fluent listener from a struggling one isn't perfect word-for-word comprehension. It's the ability to catch the overall meaning and respond naturally, you, even when a few words got lost along the way. Let me show you what I mean. Listen to this sentence at natural, fast speed. Yeah, I mean you. It wasn't great, but it wasn't the disaster everyone was expecting either, you know? If you catch every single word there, wonderful, you. But if you only caught wasn't great, wasn't the disaster expecting, that's actually enough, you. You caught the gist. Something happened. It was mediocre, not terrible, and other people had expected worse. In real conversation, you, instead of freezing or asking someone to repeat everything, you can simply respond with a natural gist-catching phrase. Right? I see, you. Or, yeah, that makes sense. Or, oh, okay, gotcha. And let the conversation keep moving, you, trusting that you understood enough to participate, you. This is one of the biggest secrets to sounding fluent. Fluent when your comprehension isn't perfect. Even when your comprehension isn't perfect, fluent speakers don't demand perfect understanding of themselves, you. They trust the gist and keep going. Now let's actually practice this together with real shadowing, you, because I promised you real shadowing practice today. And this is the moment for it, you. Shadowing means listening to a sentence and repeating it back immediately, like an echo, you. Trying to match not just the words, but the rhythm, the speed, and the melody of the voice, you, almost simultaneously, rather than waiting until the sentence finishes. It trains your mouth and your ear together at the same time, you, which is exactly why it works faster than simple repeat after me exercises. Let's try it. I'll say a sentence, you, and I want you to start repeating it back almost immediately, echoing right on top of my voice, not waiting for a pause. Ready? You. It felt completely seamless, honestly, way easier than I expected. Say it now, echoing as closely to my rhythm as you can. Good, you. Let's do one more, a little faster this time. I was disoriented for a second, but then it all made sense. Echo it now, you, right on top of my voice. That immediate, overlapping repetition is real shadowing, you. And 5 minutes of that a day will do more for your speaking rhythm than an hour of silent reading ever could, you. Let's do a short sensory self-practice round here, using the vocabulary from this whole middle section. Daily life, travel, you, and technology words together. I want you to look around your current environment or think about your day so far, you, and describe it out loud using at least 2 of these words. Self-absorbed, considerate, stilted, seamless, logistical, exhilarating, you, disoriented, unintuitive, or obsolete. For example, I might say, you. Setting up this recording equipment today felt strangely unintuitive at first, but once I got into a rhythm, you. It became completely seamless. Now it's your turn. Pause, look around, and speak for 20 seconds. You. Weaving in your chosen words naturally, connected to something real happening around you right now. Go ahead, say it out loud. You. That's genuinely strong practice. And if you're still speaking out loud with me at this point in the video, you should feel proud of that consistency, because that's exactly the kind of repeated active effort that separates people who plateau in English from people who keep improving month after month. Let's take one more short breather here. Just a few seconds. Notice your breathing. Notice how your mouth feels a little more warmed up now than it did at the start. More ready to produce English sounds without hesitation. That physical warm-up matters more than people realize. Your mouth is a muscle, and like any muscle, it gets more fluid the more you use it in a single session. When you're ready, you type 1, and we'll move into our final stretch. A set of professional role-play scenarios you'll actually speak through. A few more precise emotion and personality words, one more phonetics segment on stress and intonation, and then our full fluency round, where we race back through every single word from today, followed by a very specific challenge for you to complete after this video ends. Let's move into role play territory now, because I want you to actually feel yourself stepping into scenarios where these words matter, not just admire them from a distance. We're going to walk through 3 professional situations back to back. A job interview, a difficult client conversation, and a moment where you have to defend an idea in front of a group. And in each one, I'll give you the vocabulary a fluent speaker would naturally reach for. Picture yourself in a job interview. The interviewer leans back slightly and asks, "Tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult team member." This is the exact moment where basic English fails people. They freeze or they reach for "he was annoying," which sounds childish in a professional setting. Instead, imagine answering like this. I once worked with someone who was fairly headstrong. He resisted feedback even when it clearly would have improved the outcome. So I had to find a diplomatic way to get my point across without damaging the relationship. 2 new words there. Headstrong means stubbornly determined to do things your own way, refusing to listen to advice or direction, even when it might be wise to. Diplomatic means handling a sensitive situation carefully and tactfully without causing offense, especially when disagreement is involved. Say both with me. Headstrong, 1 clean stress on the first syllable. Now, diplomatic, Stress on the third syllable. Build your own sentence using either word describing a real situation from your work or life, and say it out loud right now. Here's your role switch moment for this scenario. I'll be the interviewer, and I want you to actually answer. Tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult team member, Pause the video and answer out loud, in your own words, trying to use headstrong or diplomatic somewhere in your response, Whatever you said, that's real interview practice. And honestly, that's exactly the kind of answer that separates confident fluent-sounding candidates from nervous, hesitant ones. Let's move to our second scenario. A difficult client conversation, One of those moments where you have to stay calm while someone else is clearly frustrated. Picture this scene with me first. You're on a video call, the client's camera is on, arms crossed, visibly annoyed about a delay in a project. The tension in the room, even through a screen, is obvious before anyone says a word. I have to say, I'm pretty frustrated, This is the second delay this month. Dothan. I completely understand your frustration, and I want to be upfront with you about what caused it, Go ahead. There was an unforeseen issue with our supplier. It wasn't something we could have predicted, but I take full responsibility for not communicating it sooner. I appreciate the honesty. What's the plan going forward, We're implementing a new tracking system, so this kind of delay gets flagged immediately, not after the fact. All right, I can work with that. Just please keep me in the loop from now on. 2 words worth pulling out of that exchange, Unforeseen means something that wasn't expected or predicted. It caught everyone by surprise, The project failed due to unforeseen circumstances beyond our control. Say it with me. Unforeseen, stress on the final syllable, And upfront, meaning honest and direct from the very beginning of a conversation, not hiding anything, Similar in spirit to candid from earlier, but slightly more casual and commonly used in exactly this kind of client-facing situation, I want to be upfront with you. This is going to take longer than we originally quoted. Say it with me. Upfront, Stress on the first syllable, short and punchy. Build one sentence using unforeseen and one using upfront about any situation, real or imagined, and say both out loud. Now here's a longer role switch for this scenario. A genuine challenge, I'll play the frustrated client, and I want you to respond as the person handling the situation, using at least one of today's professional words: candid, upfront, unforeseen, diplomatic, or headstrong. Ready? Honestly, I've heard excuses before. What makes this time different? Pause the video and respond out loud. in your own words. You. Take a real moment with this one, because staying calm and precise under pressure, in English, you, is one of the hardest and most valuable skills you can build. You. Let's move to our third and final role play. Defending an idea in a meeting where someone disagrees with you. Picture a conference room, you. A whiteboard covered in half-erased notes. A colleague leaning back with a skeptical expression as you finish presenting your proposal. You. I'm not convinced this approach will actually save us money in the long run. That's a fair concern, you. But let me walk you through the numbers, because I think the data actually paints a different picture. Okay, I'm listening, you. If we look at the first quarter alone, the reduction in overhead more than offsets the initial investment. Fine, you. The first quarter looks solid, but what about scalability? Will this hold up once we triple our client base? Great question, you. And honestly, that's the part I'm most confident about, you, because the system was specifically designed to scale without additional headcount. All right, you've made a compelling case, you. Let's move forward with a trial run. Compelling is your final professional word for this section, you. And it's a genuinely powerful one. A compelling argument, story, you, or piece of evidence is so convincing and interesting that it demands attention and belief, you. She made a compelling case for why we should change our pricing strategy. Say it with me. Compelling. Stress on the second syllable, you. Build a sentence about the most compelling argument you've ever heard, or made yourself, and say it out loud, you. Let's shift now into our phonetic segment for this section, you. Because stress and intonation change, meaning far more dramatically in English than most learners realize, you, and I want to show you exactly how. Listen to this sentence spoken with rising intonation at the end. You finished the report? You. That rising pitch turns a statement into a genuine question, expressing surprise or checking for confirmation, you. Now listen to the same words spoken with falling intonation. You finished the report, you. That falling pitch turns it into a simple statement of fact, almost flat. Matter of fact. Say both versions out loud right now, you. First with your voice rising at the very end, then with your voice falling, you. Feel the difference in your own mouth and throat as you do it, you. Here's another intonation pattern worth mastering. Sentence stress changing the entire meaning of an identical sentence, you. Say this sentence stressing the word I. I didn't say she stole the money. That version implies someone else said it, you. Now say it stressing say. I didn't say she stole the money, implying maybe you implied it some other way. Now stress stole, you. I didn't say she stole the money, implying maybe she borrowed it or took it in some other way. Same 6 words, you. 3 completely different implied meanings, just by shifting where your voice lands the emphasis, you. This is a genuinely advanced listening and speaking skill, and native speakers do it instinctively, constantly, you, without even thinking about it. Practice saying that sentence 3 times, shifting the stress each time, you, and really notice how different it feels in your mouth. Let's do one more self-practice sensory round here, you, because I want this vocabulary to stay connected to your real physical world, not just live inside dialogues I wrote, you. Look around you right now, or think about your day so far, you, and describe something using at least 2 words from this middle section: headstrong, diplomatic, unforeseen, upfront, or compelling, you. For example, my sister can be incredibly headstrong sometimes, but honestly, you. She made a pretty compelling argument for why we should visit our parents this weekend. Now you pause, you, and speak for 15 to 20 seconds, out loud, weaving these words into something true about your own life right now, you. All right, we're heading into the final stretch now, and this is genuinely one of my favorite parts of any lesson, you, because this is where everything you've absorbed over the past hour gets pulled together and tested in real time, at speed, you. The way your brain will actually need to access it in a real conversation. This is our fluency round. Here's how it works, you. I'm going to move through every single word we covered today, quickly, one after another. And for each one, you, I want you to say a sentence out loud immediately, without stopping to overthink it. Don't aim for perfection, you. Aim for speed and instinct, because that's exactly what real conversation demands of you. Ready? Here we go. Candid. Say a sentence, you, now. Streamline, go. Bottleneck, go. Proactive, go. Spearhead, go. Apprehensive, go. Daunted, go. Invigorated, go. Tenacious, go. You. Pragmatic, go. Unassuming, go. Astute, go. Self-absorbed, go. Considerate, go. Stilted, go. Seamless, go. Logistical, go. You. Exhilarating, go. Disoriented, go. Unintuitive, go. Obsolete, go. Headstrong, go. Diplomatic, go. Unforeseen, go. Upfront, go. You. Compelling, go. If you made it through that entire round, speaking a sentence for every single word, genuinely, you. Take a second to appreciate what your brain and your mouth just did together at speed, under a little pressure, you. Exactly like real conversation demands. That's not memorization. That's fluency actively forming right now in real time, you. Here's your specific challenge for after this video. And I want you to actually do this. Not just nod along and forget it by tomorrow, you. Pick 3 words from today. Any 3. whichever ones stuck with you the most, and use each one in a real sentence today. Out loud, you. In an actual conversation, or written in a message to a friend, or even just spoken to yourself while you're making dinner. Then, you. Come back to this video and leave a comment with those 3 sentences. Not just the words, full sentences, you, showing exactly how you use them. I read these, and there's something powerful about writing it down publicly, you. It makes the practice real in a way that silent study never quite manages. If today felt useful, you. The way to keep this momentum going is simple. Subscribe to Natural Word English because we do this every single day. Real vocabulary, you. Inside real situations, always spoken out loud together, never just a dry list on a screen. Hit the bell so you don't miss the next one, you. And I'll see you there, ready to keep building this with you, one real conversation at a time.